Hey there, it's Darcy. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And for those of you who've been following me, you know I just graduated from NYU. I also just moved, which is why this background is new. And with that, I am having some technical difficulties with my air conditioning in that I already filmed this video once and couldn't hardly hear me because the AC was on, because the AC is like right there. And I think I turned it off, but then it keeps kind of turning on, so you're just gonna have to bear with me, I guess. Anyway, this video is about all of my thoughts and conclusion of my experience at NYU. I get a lot of questions asking me if NYU is worth it, should I go, etc. So this video is for you and kind of a culmination of my experience, so let's jump into it. So for those of you who have been following me, you know this already, you've heard me say it 1,000 times, but for anyone who is new, I am a transfer student, so I only was at NYU for a year and a half, but I think this actually makes me really well qualified to talk about this because NYU is not my dream school. I can't speak to the freshman experience, that is one limitation, but I feel like I have a pretty grounded viewpoint on NYU. I was not coming in super glorifying it. I did have high expectations though, so that's where I think I have some insight. And overall I would say that for me NYU was worth it because it brought me to New York, but I have to say it's kind of overrated, and I have a lot of thoughts about that, so I hope you'll keep watching because I really want to go very in depth. I've been taking notes on my phone all semester about my concluding thoughts, so this is this is a video. So I think the first thing to talk about is the price tag. That is a big concern I hear from you all. I completely get it. I graduated early to save money, and it's a hefty price tag, and it's too much. It's overpriced, I think, and I don't agree with the way NYU spends its money. I really question where they put it. For example, the president makes, I believe, $2 million salary, and once he is done with his time at NYU, he still makes like $800,000 every single year. That's our money that could be put back to us, but no, it's not. He also has this super fancy penthouse and all of this. And another thing is that NYU is NYU is property hungry. They own the second most amount of property in New York, and they say that proudly. And I just very much question their motives. The way I like to put it is that the sun never sets on the NYU empire, kind of like the British Empire, if you know that quote, because literally they have campuses in 6 continents except for Antarctica, and it's just kind of crazy how all over the country, all over the globe they are. But yet they can't even take care of their students' basic mental health needs. That's where it's can you please use our money to help us, the suicides that have happened and just the lack of really good health support. That's my biggest issue with how they spend their money is make sure you're taking care of your students first of all, and then think about what else can we do, you know? So that's where I do think the price tag is higher than it should be, or they should be spending the money differently, which is probably one of my biggest concerns and issues with the school. In that also with that money you think you'd be getting this amazing education, which is not to say it's not, but also it's not. And that's where I think, having been a transfer student, I have that comparison compared to other people, so I know what else is out there, and it's just not top-notch in terms of this groundbreaking classes. And maybe that's also because the grad school is such a big part of NYU, and I transferred from the College of William and Mary, where it was much more small liberal arts, and the classes there were very eye-opening, a lot of them, and I learned a lot. And that might have been partly that I was new to college and still learning a lot, but at NYU I felt I was checking boxes. I felt my classes weren't that great. Yeah, it was just I was there to get the degree and for NYU and for New York, but the actual classes, I don't honestly have a favorite class from NYU. All my favorite classes were from William and Mary, which is kind of sad, and the professors are okay, but they're not I mean, a lot of them are really smart, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're amazing professors in terms of being able to teach. So because NYU brings them in with money and all these perks and subsidized housing, and that's not the place our money goes, but it's also can they teach? Are they even teaching undergrads? That kind of thing. And in terms of also with the classes, the whole, at least I'm in the college, well, I was in the College of Arts and Sciences, Journalism and Sociology, and so so I can only speak to CIS, but the core is awful. It's just awful. I think pretty much everyone would agree. I mean, it feels stupid and like pointless, and like certainly I like learn a little bit, but it's kind of ridiculous, and you don't even get that much freedom, because I think the point should be that like you get to learn about things from lots of different disciplines, but you don't even like do that because they're like core specific classes, so it's not like representative of like a field. It's very random, and it's not great, because like you only get to pick from like 4 classes in like a required thing, and like all those 4 classes aren't really gonna be that good anyway, and like everyone trying to cram into them, and yeah, it's just, I think they could do a better job of making the classes really interesting and like giving you way more options and being able to take actual classes with people in those majors, not these like, I don't know, random things that are just for requirements. So with all that negativity though, like there are things that do make NYU worth it. For me, it was moving to New York. I would never have had all the opportunities I've had being here. I wouldn't have been able to study journalism and go into media because there was nothing for that in Williamsburg, Virginia. So it's been great for me, I think, in terms of like my personal and career development. Like I am so happy here. I'm staying in New York. Like I love it. For me, it was worth it to move here for those opportunities, and part of that is NYU is really well connected. Everywhere I go, I meet NYU people. Like there's so many alumni. The alumni are very connected. So many people stay in New York, so it just feels like everywhere I go there's someone who's from NYU, which is like a good instant connection you have, and that network, and it's a name brand school. Like you do have that going. I have, you know, a decent job out of college. Like all of that does kind of make it more worthwhile, and you're paying for that though. Okay, back to some other things that make NYU overrated. Definitely like there's not really a big sense of community. It's very like everyone's very isolated, and partly that is New York, I think, but it's also, I think, just the way NYU functions, like the culture of it. Everyone's just like very on their own and very independent, which I like to a certain extent. I like being very independent, so that's where I did feel like I fit in. But also like I don't have a lot of friends from NYU. Like I know people, but and maybe that's partly transfer, but also in general just like talking to other people who even aren't transfers, it's a very isolating campus. It's hard to like really have like a community or a group you're really connected with, and you know, so many people don't live on campus, which is totally fine. That's where it's very integrated with the city, but that also means people are all over doing all sorts of things. It's not like this concentrated thing of a community, so you have to like accept that for what it is. And I do wish it was a little bit more so, even though I do like that it is like everyone's very independent and motivated, but I think it would be nice to have a little bit more community with that. And then I talked about this, I made a video which is like my most popular video ever. I made it about a year ago, and it was called What No One Tells You About NYU. Go check it out if you haven't, because I feel like that kind of goes in depth about like what I was like, whoa, after my first semester, like all these things I was not expecting about NYU. Anyway, so one of those is the bureaucracy. That to me makes it like, again, very like you don't feel like you're part of a community, because it's like there's all these like weird like online things you have to do, and like just like I had 3 different advisors and stuff like that, where it's just very much like divide and conquer. Professors have no idea what's going on with like the registrar has no idea what's going on with your other major. Like everyone's just very disconnected. Each office, like, and there's a million of them, has like one specific task, and everyone just does their thing. And even though like there's all these people in the bureaucracy, you don't often see them even. Like it's just very like you have to be like on top of what you're doing. You have to know, which is I think really good in college to like teach you those skills. But again, there's like the bureaucracy is really frustrating sometimes, and it does make it feel like you don't always have like super strong support, and like the college again is just like kind of there doing the things, and you're like over there doing the studying. So, and then another video of mine you should go watch, sorry for the self-promo, is I made a video called Why Dream Schools Don't Exist, and I talk a lot about how no school is perfect. So that's where for me NYU was worth it, because like there probably wasn't any other school like for the end of my college experience that would have fit my needs quite as well as NYU did, because like I was able to continue my sociology studies while also adding journalism and having access to NYU and like its giant network here, and just like being in New York City. So like that's where like for me it was worth it. But at the same time, like I think a lot of people put NYU on this pedestal, and it becomes this overrated thing, and it's like this dream school for people, and I get it, I do, but I also think that like it shouldn't necessarily be like put on a pedestal because there are things that like aren't great, and like that's true for every single school. Like these are human institutions, they have problems, they aren't perfect, and there we go again. So in conclusion, I would say that it really depends on the person. Depends on what you want to get out of college, depends on who you are, how you'll fit in at NYU, what you want to study, which you can study most things at NYU or make your own major, but it's definitely not for everyone. And certainly I think NYU is very into advertising itself in a certain way. It kind of glorifies it, and it's certainly a good school. I'm not saying don't go there at all. I'm really glad I did. But from what I, as a cynical person, have seen, they're trying to decrease their acceptance rate. It's halved in 3 years, which is a lot. And so I think they want to drive up their admissions, because if they have higher people applying and accept the same numbers, then their acceptance rate goes down. So NYU, I see you. And so that's where, I'm not saying don't go, I'm just saying it really depends on the person, and it definitely is overrated, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people who end up here would agree, you know, just based on talking with other people, talking in classes and that kind of thing. But that doesn't mean it's not worth it, and you really have to weigh the pros and cons and like figure out what you want and what you want to get out of college, and how important it is for you to be in New York or whatever campus you choose for NYU. I mean, this is very New York focused, but yeah. I hope this helped you out. I know so many of you are interested in NYU, so I wish you the best of luck if you do want to attend, and definitely comment down below any questions you have for me or DM me. I'm super responsive to Instagram DMs at darceypittmanyt. So yeah, I will see you all in my next video. Alright, bye. I feel like I talked really fast because I get a lot of questions